look at the Prime Minister on Radio New Zealand this morning. This has kind of taken a back seat, this story, to what's happened with Te Pāti Māori today, which obviously is the lead story of the day. But Christopher Luxon this morning on RNZ has basically acknowledged, now he's going to say, I didn't say that, but has basically said that they're going to look at asset sales for the next term. Which on one hand, I appreciate, because you know how much of this term stuff they put through with no mandate and with no acknowledgement prior to the election. So I don't know why he wouldn't stick with, there's no plans for us to do this. There's no plans. And after the election, our plans have changed. So I guess there's a part of me which is kind of grateful that he's been somewhat honest about it. But also when I think about him being honest, I kind of go, well, if he's being slightly honest that they might be on the table, what that actually means is they definitely are on the table. But there was a couple of other conversations to be had. And one was where RNZ Breakfast Morning Report was talking to him about the increase in meth use. Let's have a listen.
Why do you think meth use has increased so much, doubling in just a year?
The reality is that New Zealand has higher prices for meth as it's collapsed all around the world. And now for the first time, we're seeing very heavy introduction of meth into this part of the world from North American drug cartels, very, very sophisticated, very organised crime. And that's just lifted the supply available because it's more attractive for them to send product here, given our prices are higher than other places.
So the bad guys are winning.
Well, it's just a good reminder for us to step up our level of sophistication.
It is funny when they have a really negative headline around a crime, all of a sudden it's reasonable conversations. It's, we just got to address it. Whereas if it was ram raids under the last lot, soft on crime, they don't know what they're doing, enemy of business, that might be my word, not theirs. Yet meth use has increased in New Zealand. I think it might have been last year or maybe the start of this year, Chewie, there was a news report that said like nowhere else in the world, like New Zealand had a world record increase in meth use. And now up to and including, they're saying, doubling since last year. So I don't want to go, which would you prefer? A city full of meth users or a city with a bunch of ram raiders? He's using his inside voice, Chewie, and he's sounding quite reasonable about a meth use explosion when he wasn't sounding reasonable and was using his very much big boy outside voice about ram raids. And it's concerning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like teenagers stealing cars and driving into an old Leamings. These guys made that sound like a national epidemic, and was enough to try and topple the government over.
Yeah.
But we can be very much chill and understanding about why meth use has exploded like never before. Anyway, I'm sure we can hand wave this away by going, who amongst us doesn't enjoy a nice, relaxing puff of meth after a hard day down mill?
The odd pipe here or there.
It's the economy bouncing back. They're going for growth, etc., etc.
Well, have a think about this as well. The ram raid situation. Now, let's imagine they were being genuine, which I don't believe they were. I believe they were being disingenuous and they were using ram raids as an excuse. But let's say they were being genuine. Ram raids was pushed by Sonny Cashel and that department, that group that gave them money, and it impacted business and businesses, which this government seems to care more about than individuals and human beings, because the individuals and human beings are being more impacted by meth. Someone on meth, there was a story, I don't know what I watched, was it One News, about a guy who's taken 10 years to get off meth and he's just coming out the end of it and he's lost his family, lost his kids, lost his job, lost everything because of it. That story there, which is 10 years of a personal story from a person who's gone through it all, versus cigarettes being taken out of a store that's insured. Oh, that's another point, Chewie. The insurance companies won't like the ram raids, but then who really cares about, some young man somewhere in rural New Zealand smoking some meth? It just impacts them. So there's all sorts of things that you could go down if you wanted to. All right, we'll get to the end of this. It's only about 45 seconds.
And pushback as well, and certainly it's a big issue and right across the Pacific, whether New Zealand, Australia, but certainly Fiji, Tonga, Samoa as well. And that's the reality, is that we need to expand our borders and work together better with our partners with more sophisticated intelligence and customs and NZDF resource as well.
What about cutting demand? What is this hard-hitting campaign going to say that people don't already know?
Exactly.
Yeah, look, I just think it's about us making it, bringing consciousness to the issue, a bit like we have with drunk.
So why wasn't there consciousness and an advertising campaign around ram raids? Like it's a different approach. Now, I guess what they're going to say is because we need to educate people what meth will do to them, sure. But it's the inside voice. It's the reasonable voice coming out now. And a part of that is because he doesn't want to bring attention to things that make his government look bad. The outside voice, the big boy voice around ram raids, because he wanted to look the Labour government look bad. So he made lots of noise about it. This is more question. Now listen, we're going to be quiet about this. We're not going to tell too many people. And we're going to make sure we handle it in a nice, calm way. Ram raids? Oh my God. Cigarettes being stolen. Oh my, you can tell, you can see through it.
Drunk driving and other campaigns over the years. I think every family has had a family member or a friend impacted by the ravaging of effects of meth, and we just want to be able to talk about meth-related harm, but we also want to make sure that we're supporting and adding extra money into our addiction services as well.
Well, there comes back to that conversation around Lifeline, adding more money into these areas whilst they've been taking money out of other areas. But I just wanted to pick up on one thing, Chewie. I didn't stop because there's only 10 seconds to go. But this whole thing about, everyone in New Zealand has a family member or a friend that's been impacted by meth. And I'm like, really? Is it? So that's like far more serious than, say, alcoholism, or because I don't think every family in New Zealand has been touched by other. So what I actually think he's saying in that it's more serious, and it's worse than maybe what even the news report was saying. So everyone knows someone who's had the ravages of meth impact on them. I don't think that's true. I think he's way over exaggerating, but he's making the own situation worse. I mean, unless what he's saying is if you knew all the truth, everyone would know someone. Like I can't think of anyone in my circle who's suffered at the ravages as the hands of meth, unless of course it's a secret from me. But I'm like, if it's that serious, this should be the number one issue for you, Mr. Prime Minister, if every single New Zealander knows someone who's been impacted by meth.
I love when they dip into this hyperbole about the evils of drug use, right? Because I can't think of anyone in my circle that's really been affected by meth. I can think of several that have been affected by alcohol.
Yep.
And if we were to look at, say, alcohol-related harm, alcohol-related road crashes, alcohol-related issues with health, do we really want to be drawing those comparisons? But yeah, if they're talking about meth and they're talking about the explosion of meth use, can they look at how much they defunded border security and customs straight out of the gates?
He's saying that
they made that choice.
He's saying we need to put more money into places that deal with addiction whilst they're taking money away from places that deal with addiction. It's this classic example of this government. We want to focus on getting the smoking rate down whilst cancelling Smoke-Free 2025. We want to support Today and we want to build it up in the community while pulling all sorts of legislative changes to diminish Today in the background. It's just like if you're saying, an older gentleman that I knew back several years ago used to say, when words and actions disagree, believe the actions. The actions that your government has partaken in so far do not say, we want to give more money to mental health and addiction issues. That's what the actions say. So I don't believe your words.
Yeah. They don't believe in the value of words. It's just words. They say things and then they don't back them up. And I can hear people going, oh, that's just politics, mate. It's not. It's not. We put a value on words, and we used to hold people to that standard, and this government is taking the piss like never before.
Yeah.
Like, it's not normal. Like, we can go back to previous national governments, and it wasn't like this. It was still bad. I still have heaps of criticism, but they still had some people that had a moral compass. This is what we were talking about with Claudette last week. This government doesn't have the moral compass. No one is holding themselves to account. You know, and I guess when you choose a minister of such quality as Chris Peck, that speaks books of how much you value truth and personal integrity. So, yeah.
Well, go down the list. Sam Uffindale, you've selected Sam Uffindale. So you can go down the list, you know, the quality people you've decided to pick. All right, let's get to the next part of the story, which is actually the news headline part of the story, where the Morning Report hosts are saying that basically, I think it's Treasury. The report came out last week that we can't grow our way out of fiscal deficit. So if we can't grow our way out of fiscal deficit, and of course Luxon's going to go, I think Luxon's going to go, yes you can, but then he goes into asset sales. Well, hang on, if you can grow your way out of fiscal deficit, there's no need for the sale of assets. So let's hear what the Prime Minister has to say.
Work as well.
A bit of a reality check from Treasury last week. New Zealand can't grow its way, and I know you talk a lot about growth, but New Zealand can't grow its way out of a fiscal deficit. So what are you going to do? What are your options there?
Well, look, I think we can grow. I think we can be much more efficient than what we have been with government spending.
Okay. We can grow our way out. Easy. Conversation over. Oh, not quite? Oh, okay.
Government spending, as we've seen. But I think their point.
More efficient with government spending. There's 4 letters for that word. CUTS. Cuts. More efficient with government spending, he says.
Their point was actually a fair provocation, which was to say, look, there's an issue about assets and about asset recycling. As the New Zealand government has a lot of money tied up in assets that actually could be either sold or actually and then redeployed into creating other assets. And I think we need a more mature conversation than what we've historically had in this country about assets, because owning everything we own forever isn't the right thing to do, I suspect. And actually being able to sell an asset in order to create and build a new asset is actually probably a good thing. So we'll think about.
Typically, that's not what this government does, though. They don't. This government, being a Labour government, a national government, faux pas, they don't sell an asset to build another asset. They sell an asset to, for example, pay for tax cuts, or to pay for things like land reimbursements.
Gotta have that sugar head.
And I'll tell you that I've said this before on the show. I'm not necessarily anti some asset sales. What I'm anti is a bad reason for selling the asset. And I remember, because I was working in Talkback at the time, when John Key was coming in, they were talking about selling, 49% of all these companies. And some of the things they listed were things like, we need to repaint the hospitals. We need to build some prefabs in schools. So all things that in 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now are going to have to be done again anyway. So it wasn't like we're selling these assets and we're going to buy 10,000 state homes. Okay, let's have that conversation. We're going to sell these assets and pay for our tax cuts. No, let's not have that conversation.
So let's look at some of the asset sales that we've had for National in the past. Okay, they sold big chunks they sold the post office. So we had telecom. Big asset sales, massive profits for them. Never, ever bothered at updating their network until they were absolutely 100% forced to and broken up.
Yeah,
that was holding back this country's move into fibre. Let's see, the railways. We'll sell them off, sell them to an overseas investment company that will strip it for parts, run it into the ground, and then the government had to buy it back again once it was absolutely on its fucking knees. And the moment that we bring that up and invest in it, then they'll look at that and go, well, nobody's really using rail. Let's sell it off again. The power companies, the banks, all of these things, Air New Zealand, all of these things, can we look at the privatisation that they've done and gone, has this been worthwhile for New Zealand in the long run? This is a man that says that our economy is unproductive because we all pay for the shit that we build, then we sell it off to overseas interests, and then we just pay them our money to take it outside of the country. Like, you understand that the economy is unproductive. All you've left us is selling old houses to each other. That's why it's unproductive. You big businessman, big business brain, absolutely fucking dropped Air New Zealand down a toilet. All you had to do was literally hold on to your desk and not do anything, and you would have been probably one of the greatest CEOs of Air New Zealand ever. But you crashed it. And now you've got the hands on the entire country's economy. Why is anyone treating you and Nicola Willis like you know what you're doing?
But, I mean, like, you know, Nicola Willis is an English graduate, so she probably knows a few things. Like, the words in the report will all be spelled correctly, eh? At least we got that. I think we've got that. All right, this has only got 30 seconds to go. Let's get to the end of it, eh? Here we go.
About that over the course of the coming year.
When you talk about mature conversations, how will you get that past New Zealand first?
Good question.
Well, again, we'll go to the election with policies in this space, I suspect, but we haven't decided our policy yet. As I've said, we're not having any asset sales this term. But I just think that report was quite a good challenge just to come up a level and actually think about the reality, which is that the government owns a lot of stuff. Some of it, we must own, but obviously over time, you want to be able to cycle assets in and out of a portfolio of assets, and I think that would be a good conversation to have.
You know what he's doing, Chewie? He's doing what you often frustrates you when we talk about the economy, like a household economy. He's talking about New Zealand like a business. You know, like you cycle your assets in and out. That's what he's saying. Okay, so we're going to move that division of the company out. We're going to buy that company's division. So he is talking about it like it's a business, although he can't run a business, as you've just pointed out. So that fills us with dread.
Here's an example, and this is a Christopher Luxon example, right? So we're going to talk about airlines, and we're going to talk about major airports around the world. Now, Air New Zealand used to fly into Heathrow at a particular time. Airlines buy their slots. They're worth money because obviously it helps with your scheduling around the world and that sort of thing. They're worth millions and millions of dollars to get a particular spot, and Air New Zealand had a good one at Heathrow. Now, that would be an asset, right?
Yeah.
Christopher Luxon looked at the value of that asset and how much it would be worth if they sold it. And so they sold that slot. And then after Christopher Luxon was gone, they realised that they'd fucked up real bad. And maybe we should buy it back.
Oh.
And it was now worth 50 times what they sold it for. And that was if the airline that bought it wanted to sell it, which they didn't. So they got a little sugar hit. Someone laughed all the way to the bank, and then Air New Zealand was just left with regret. Now, if I could come up with another analogy, do we want our whole country to do that? Like, this is the big brain decision that Big Business Daddy comes up with. Maybe we shouldn't let him make decisions, just in general. He can decide whether he wants the fucking egg sandwich at lunch or the ham and cheese. That's all he's allowed to do in Parliament. We could probably get through with this. But there are a whole bunch of people, maybe behind their hands they're saying that he's not a good leader, but certainly to us they're all saying, yes, he has our full support. And they're letting this happen. It is either through sheer incompetence or corruption or dumbassery or all three. Like, I agree with what you said at the top of the show. I am glad that he is pushing this boat out, because that means the election has two button issues from the major parties on the fucking docket. Do we have a mandate to clip the ticket from property investors for more health outcomes? Or do the other guys have a mandate to sell off the family silver so we can put more gas in the car.
The Air New Zealand Heathrow is not even it sold for 27 million. It's not even that much money. Like honestly, I mean,
not.
I'm just looking at
For their
reports about
operating budget, it literally just wasn't worth their time. I don't know why they did it. But does what you're looking at say what they were quoted to buy it back? It is go fuck yourself money.
I haven't seen that. I'm looking at the AI review of the articles below. It does say there's a gain of about 42 million, but I don't know the buyback is what it is. But it says that they sold it for 27 million. In New Zealand, sold Heathrow slots for 27 million, a testament to their high value. A few years ago, Oman Air paid 75 million. So what they're actually saying in this article is maybe we sold it a tad too cheap. Other ones sold for up to 75 million. We sold ours for 27 million. So I don't know. That's just a quick look over a couple of articles.